Boker Tov Lekulam. Good morning, everybody. Okay. ושם נעבודך בעירו כי מיילו וכשונים קדמייני עז אוי די 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 אי די 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 Okay, so most of the chaver that are here that are learning with us right now live are Mistama here in Eretz Yisrael. So let's get ready because we know that the gates are opening and so many of our brothers and sisters can't ignore the calling to come back home. So it should be a tefillah for us that are here that we get our acts together and our kli to receive them with such simcha and purity and holiness and excitement. It should just be more and more refined. And for that we need the Shekhinah's presence to feel at home in the homes that we build here, in the relationships that we have with each other. Ay, la, 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 וחזן עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים ושם נעבודך בעירו כי מעולם Shanim Kadmoini La 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 Ay la 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 Ay 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 oh La 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 Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the sweet harmony, which I'm sure you were singing. I heard it. And welcome back to our sixth, I think it's the sixth one today, right? The sixth parak, the sixth chapter in this journey called Rav Kook in the city of Chevron. Well, it's been such a, how do you know that something hits you strong is when you miss it so much, when you miss a week. So last week was Erev Shavuos, we didn't have a shir. But this topic is just so beautiful. It's painful, but it's so, it's just so, the right word I'm looking for is like giving you koyach. It's rejuvenating. It's something very, very special. So to get us back into context, it's 1929, it's 1930 now. And it's 6 months after the Praot, after the massacre. And the last time we spoke about a memorial that happened in the Yeshurun synagogue with many of the survivors of the Chevron massacre in 1929. Rav Kook got up and gave an amazingly, incredibly deep and passionate talk on tuning into the Ruach of Kalev ben Yefune. That's the Ruach of Chevron. That was the Ruach of Chevron then, and that's the Ruach of Chevron today. And today we're going to see Lemaisa what begins to happen now in post the Praot after the massacre, and now that we're beginning to understand that we have to make decisions. We have to figure out: are we moving forward? Are we giving Chevron a break? How are we dealing with Chevron? But more importantly, today we're going to see an important matter that Rav Kook addresses. It seems that the morale of the Am, rightfully so, a morale that began with feeling very much, this is like the Geula, we're on our way, and it's all happening. You know, we're coming back to Eretz Yisrael, we're beginning to rebuild the land in 1920, 1925, 1927, and then this 1929 comes, and the morale of the people just sinks very, very low. And Rav Kook is a leader, and he has to address what's really going on and not just be politically correct. So we're going to see something beautiful towards the end of Shir, how Rav Kook decided to give koach, to simply give koach. But I mentioned this last time, there was a halachic shaila that came up that I wanted to show you. A very interesting question came up from the community from the people, actually the designers of the cemetery in Chevron had a very important shaila to Rav Kook. Listen how brilliant this is. The shaila was, this is the answer that you see in front of you, but the shaila was, what do we do about writing the names on matzevas? Basically, the minhag of Chevron was to never write names on matzevot. The names of those that were deceased that were in the cemetery was put into the pinkas of the city. It was in the city documents, and and that's how you knew where each person was buried. But there was no writing on matzevot. That was the minhag for many, many years. There are many different reasons for it, but now they realized, wait a second, all the years that there was people being buried in Chevron, Jews being buried in Chevron, and the names were documented clearly in the city council's documents. Beseder, that was fine when there was a Jewish presence in Chevron. But what are we going to do now that there are no Yidden in Chevron? And they were nervous that if they don't write down on the matzevas who's buried here, that who knows what will happen. So they asked Rav Kook, actually Rav Meir Bar Ilan was the one that asked Rav Kook what to do. What do we do about this? Because changing this minhag it wasn't a pashut thing. It was a minhag for hundreds of years. So what are we supposed to do? So look at this. He answers back. Daled Cheshvan Tafresh Tzadik. He answers back. This seems to be November 1929. Mashu kazeh, late October 1929. לכבוד ידידי הרב הגדול בישראל, מורנו הרב מאיר ברלין שליטה שלום. Rav Kook answers him. בתשובה על שאלתו בדבר חקיקת השמות של קדושי חברון על המצבה, in regards to your question regarding the engraving of the names of the holy martyrs of Chevron on the monument, כבר הבאתי את חוות דעתי, שאף על פי שאין נוהגים בחברון לחקוק שמות על המצבות. I've already expressed my opinion that even though the minhag in Chevron has been to not write these names on matzevas, ein banidon mishum shinui min haklal. Don't worry, you're not changing a minhag by now deciding that you have to do this. And then he brings a whole halachic pilpul, kvaheri chashach bechoshen mishpat, lamed zayin tzif kat lamachet. He goes into a whole pilpul over here. Now go down a few lines where you see the second to last word is ve'al ken af al pi sheyesh makom gadol ba'alacha shelo leshanot ma'minhag bidvar nogea lichvod hamitim beyichud ve'yesh yesod ledavar misugya de Sanhedrin daf memvav amud beis be'inyan kvura the Amar Hasan de lishtani minhaga. So he says, even though we have a masoret, when it comes to burials, we stick very much with what the minhag of the place has been. We don't change things. You know, it's a very interesting thing. You don't like just say in the cemetery, okay, he'll have this minhag over here, and that person will have that minhag. It used to be that the way that everyone was buried in the cemetery was in the same manner. Today, you do see different matzevas in different cemeteries, but in one cemetery. But it used to be that it was very kavua. Whatever was. Like when we go to Ukraine, and we see, for instance, the cemetery in Berdichev, as an example. Remember the cemetery in Berdichev? So those that were there realized it's just massive amounts of shoe-shaped kvarim. That's for another shir. Why were they buried in matzevas that are shaped in a shoe? But everything is pretty much the same. So Rav Kook says, don't worry, you're not messing up over here. It's true that you shouldn't change minhagim, but let's understand what we're dealing with right now, Rav Kook says. Aval, in the bold typing over here, Aval hatzara sheba aleinu al yedei harotzchim atmeim imach shmam. But that which has befallen upon us from the horrific murderers imach shemam, shehu davar nora ve'ayam shelo nishma kamau be'artzenu akdosha miyemei hachurban. Rav Kook says, since Churban Abayis, we have never heard of such a horrific and horrible thing that happened in our holy land. Lo shayach legabe didu tochen shel minhag. The concept of minhag or not minhag, we're leaving that aside right now because we're dealing with something that's a little bit, not a little bit, very much out of the norm. בחובתנו היא לחקוק לזיכרון עולם את המאורע הנורא עם שמוס הקדוש עם השם ייקום דמו. It's our obligation to engrave for an eternal memory what happened with the holy people that are buried over here. ואין שום פיקפוק מצד הדין ולא חשש שינוי של מנהג. Don't worry, you're not deviating from minhag. This is a horas shah. It's like it's amazing. There was such an awe, a reverence towards minhagim. We're talking about minhagim over here. There was such a kavod given to every minhag. Rav Kook says, I know you're nervous about changing from the minhag hamakom, but this is different. Okay? But then look how he ends off here. V'Hashem yitbarach yinkom lanu mitzarenu. God will avenge for us from our tzaras. בחרפת צוררנו אל חיקם ישיב, וירים קרן עמו ונחלתו, במהרה בימינו אמן. All shame will be removed, and the light of our people will be elevated, Bezrat Hashem. So that's how Rav Kook answers that shaila. So what's interesting is that they were doing a lot of prep work now for trying to figure out what do we do with what, like we said before, like what do we Lamaisa do with Chevron? There are no Jews there. there's a cemetery up there. We buried a bunch of the Kedoshim there in a mass grave. We have no pikuach. We have no, how do you say pikuach? We have no, like a mefakeach, a general overseer, whatever you call it. We have no one doing shmirah. We don't know what's going to be. But further, there was a more difficult thing. And the difficult thing was there's still a lot of items that were filled with Jewish blood on them. And we know that when it comes to, we say Hadam hu nefesh, when it comes to someone that was Chalila killed, I mentioned this in a shir recently, I forget which year it was, that when it comes to someone who's killed a Kiddush Hashem, even someone that's not killed a Kiddush Hashem, someone that's murdered, whatever it is, and their clothes are drenched in their blood, you have to bury those clothes, those articles. Jewish blood is something that needs to go into the kever with the person that died, that was killed. I saw this with my own eyes in 1995. In 1995, in the summer of 1995, wow, I can't believe it's going to be 25 years ago. In the summer of 1995, a girl in my class had a brother who was murdered in a place called Wadi Kelt. Wadi Kelt is close to, it's like on the way to Yericho, that area. Wadi Kelt's by like Nofei Im Prat, this gorgeous, gorgeous area. And this Yid was a Bocher in Merkaz, in Yeshivat Merkaz Rav. He was, I think he just finished Shana Aleph, it was summertime. He was doing a teal with a friend of his. The person that I kind of knew, his name was Uri Shachor, and his friend's name was Ohad Bachrach. He was from Beit El, and the guy that I knew was from Ranana, where I was living. And Hashem Yirachem, they went down into the Vadi to Tovel in the Maayan, and without getting too gruesome, they were shot from the back and then knifed in the neck, and Hashem Yishmor, Hashem Yirachem. They were both killed, and as a 15-year-old kid, I went to the funeral, of course, and I saw them, after they buried him, take out a bag, and the bag was drenched tzitzis. His tzitzis were covered in blood. I guess he had just come out of the body, put his tzitzis back on. I don't know exactly what happened, but I saw them bury the tzitzis with him. Now, the thing is, over here in Chevron, that there were so many things that they had never been back there. The Jews never went back after the Praot. No one knew, the houses were destroyed, the shuls were destroyed, the yeshiva was destroyed. People were brutally chopped up all over the place. And what do you do, Lemaisa, with all the things that needed to be taken care of? So this is an amazing thing. There was an article that described, there was an article in the paper that described this. I'll tell you briefly, as you can look actually at some pictures of what we're talking about over here. This is what the houses looked like. Some pictures you could see a little bit clearer what we're talking about, how things were just covered in blood. On a Tuesday morning, it was, by the way, that's an interesting picture. You see that picture of Herzl in this house. I believe this was the house of Rabbi Slonim. I believe it was the house of the chief rabbi, then Rabbi Slonim, the Chabad Chassid, who has a picture of Herzl in here. I think it was, I'm not sure. Simcha Achbam will correct me if I'm wrong. There you could see. Okay, look at these steps, okay? These are steps leading to one of the houses, and you see what's going on those steps. So what happens is on the Tuesday morning, on the 13th of Shvat, this is like January 1930. So 60 Chevron residents, former residents, mainly from the Slobodka Yeshiva, they drove into Chevron in 4 different cars. And they had to get permission from the then governor of Chevron that they're only going in order to collect everything, to gather all the belongings from the yeshiva, from the shuls and the homes. And the descriptions are very difficult. I mean, in the house of Rav Slonim, for instance, that we saw, the only way they could remove the blood from the tiles and off the walls was pouring water everywhere to get it off. And then the water would then go into a bucket, and then those buckets of water were put into the graves that they then went up to. And lots of clothes were taken that were filled with blood. They also found, this is crazy, but they found massive boulders, huge rocks, and axes that were covered with blood, because that's what was used to kill them. And they took all those things and they went up to the cemetery, which you'll see in a second, a picture of them by the cemetery. Look at this. Hashem Yirachem. And they had to bury all these articles. Rav Aryeh Levine was with them. The tzaddik Rabbi Aryeh Levine was with them. And he tried giving a hesped, but he kept on breaking down in tears. He couldn't stop crying. All different types of psukim, v'nakam yashiv l'tzara, v'chiper admato, harninu goyim amo, all those psukim we say in the Avarachmim Tefillah and Shabbos, right before we start Musaf. And Rav Aryeh Levine, according to this, the testimony that from someone that was there, he tried getting through it. He couldn't. These Bachurim were completely devastatedly broken. They couldn't get through any words. Now, what's so sad is that this is like a shir that we're learning about in an historical context. What's so sad is that Rav Kook and the Rabbanut HaRishit understood that if there's no serious pikuach, if there's no guarding over the cemetery, it's going to be vandalized. And in fact, a few years later, not even a few years later, I think later that year in 1930, that cemetery was already attacked. So Rav Kook sends out this letter to the governor of Yerushalayim, which you'll see in a second, where he asks him to please make sure that in Chevron, look at this document. The Rabbanut HaRishit of Eretz Yisrael, I know it's a little bit fuzzy, but the gist of this letter is that Rav Kook and all the chief rabbis are telling the Moshel of Yerushalayim, we're so broken over the fact that we know that property is being damaged, things are still being vandalized. It's unbelievable after all the pain we've been through. Please make sure you take care of this, and please fence it out, and please, because we can't be there. And the answer they got was, in a court, we have taken care of things in the matter that's to the we're satisfying the people of the Yeshuva Yehudi, and they said it's okay the way that we decided to put up a fence and everything will be okay. That did not happen. That place has been vandalized so many times in the past. So we're still in the middle of this story, right? We're still basically in the middle of the story. It hasn't really, ended. We're still in the middle of it. But what I wanted to discuss today, and the meat of today's shir is the following. Rav Kook is placed in a very tricky place. He's quite old, and quite old, relatively speaking. He has a few years left to his life, but the question is he being viewed as the Mashiach Sheker now? Is Rav Kook being viewed as the false prophet, the false Messiah? Not that he ever proclaimed himself to be anything messianic, but what he did proclaim quite often is that the tahalich, that the process that they were in the midst of was of messianic nature. This coming back to Eretz Yisrael after thousands of years wasn't just a nice Zionist idea, but this was something much bigger in the context of world history, in the context of our biblical history, our national history on all levels. But now the question is, like the simple Yidla was walking around scratching his head saying, is this what we came here for? Did we leave Galut? Or were we persecuted from other places in Galut to come here and now have to deal with this kind of stuff? This doesn't make any sense. What should we do? People have an achrayut. In fact, like we saw, the Slobodka Yeshiva decided to not relocate to Chevron. Next week, we'll get into the whole question of what happened to the Yeshuva Yehudi in Chevron. Did they decide to resettle in Chevron or not? But the Slobodka Yeshiva already then, Rav Kook said, I'm giving that decision to the Rosh Yeshiva. And the Rosh Yeshiva of Slobodka said, listen, we have such an achrayas, we're taking kids here from American families and from all over the world, European families, we can't endanger them if this is the situation. And they decided to settle in Yerushalayim, which is the yeshiva is there till today. But Rav Kook is looking at this in a much wider, broader picture, and he knows all eyes are on him. And real leaders don't shy away from the eyes that are staring at them, especially when they feel that the eyes from above are staring at them. So Rav Kook had the most beautiful way, as we know, of articulating himself. And even though it's sometimes very difficult, today, the piece we have that we're going to see in front of you is called Shuvu Levitzaron. And this is in response to this is like in the year following the massacre, which it didn't just happen in Chevron, it happened in Yerushalayim, it happened in Tzfat, it happened in Moza. Those 1929 riots took place in a number of different places. And Rav Kook knows that the tenderness, the sense of people are confused, people are wounded, and people are doubting. What's this whole thing about? Now, I can just speak for myself, even though, as far as I remember, we haven't experienced any kind of massacre like this in Eretz Yisrael in the last 20, 30 years, although we've had plenty of mini massacres. This concept of like, what's going on? Is this part of the are we fooling ourselves? Is this like just going to be written as one episode in the history of the world as it was a nice try to come back, but you messed it up? Or is something much bigger going on? And that's why these words of Rav Kook are still here to give us a tremendous amount of chizuk, determination, and refocusing on how the process of Geula takes place. And I was debating whether to learn this here or to learn this in the shir that we're starting now on Monday nights of Geula, learning Geula, but maybe we'll do it in both places. I don't know, but it's just, it's so perfect for the context of what we're learning. And I don't know exact date when this was written, but this is an excerpt from a longer piece of Rav Kook called Shuvu Levitzaron, and it's based on a pasuk in Zechariah, as you can see, where it says Shuvu Levitzaron Asirei Hatikva. In a very loose translation, that kind of means return to your fortress, return to your stronghold, prisoners of hope. Asirei Tikva. Very interesting wording from Zechariah Navi. We're all kind of prisoners of hope. Shuvu levitzaron, return to your stronghold. Rav Kook says like this, first paragraph. Oto hazik kadosh miyesod hageula. The holy spark from the foundation of redemption. Mikdushas shmo shel Mashiach, from the sanctity of the name of Mashiach. Shenivra kodem shenivra haolam. This spark of geula existed before the world was even in existence. Now, what does it even mean over here? There's a midrash. It says on the pasuk, "Veruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim." Right. So, what is this ruach Elokim that's hovering over the water? The Torah never says that water was created. Water was one of the things that was always there somehow. It doesn't ever say that Hashem created water. It says He separated water. But it doesn't say Vayivra Hashem et hamayim. So the Midrash says here, it says Veruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. What kind of spirit of God is hovering over the water? Rucho shel Melech HaMashiach. The spirit, the wind, the energy of the King Mashiach. So Rav Kook says this spark of holiness, which is the foundation of the Geula, which has already been in existence from before the world was created. End of the first line, Shayat tamun v'ganuz be'alfei azkaim, that's shal shelaot, me'az nehersam mamlachtenu, and it's been, this spark of redemption has been concealed and hidden in thousands of shal shelaot, of chains. It's been chained 1,000 times over since our mamlacha, since our kingdom, since David Malka Mashiach, since Shlomo HaMelech, since their kingdoms were taken away. Charav Beit Mikdashenu v'galinu me'artzeinu. Our Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. We were exiled from our land. Echel lehitlahev, this zik, this spark, began to fire up. Mitachat afrot hagalut hamara, it began to warm up and spark up even more from beneath the dust, the ashes of bitter exile, asher avtsu alav me'ot bashanim, that hundreds of years have been trampling upon it. Zot omeret, we once had a huge fire. It was called Beis Hamikdash. It was called Malchus. It was called kingdom. It was referred to as royalty. It was a big flame. Then Gullus came, a wind came, and blew that flame out almost completely. But there's been a zik, a spark of holiness, a spark of the Geula, one spark, that kind of like, when you put a fire out, you have to keep on standing there, make sure you have to wait till the fire is completely out, right? So there was one charcoal, there was one piece that never was extinguished. And it's been, becoming, it's actually been mitlaheving. It's been becoming more and more flammable, enthusiastic, but it's been seeped beneath. But he says the ashes of bitter galut, and people have just been stomping over this for hundreds of years, not noticing that beneath their feet something so powerful is bubbling up. V'hine, Rav Kook says, and now, behold, otot hazman hagdolim alalu shel shivat Yisrael le'artzo, these amazing times of Am Yisrael coming back to its country. And this is like it's amazing. This is like pre-1948. It's actually pre-Nefesh B'Nefesh. Can you believe it? And he's talking about like people are actually coming back. Asher kol lev Yehudi hane'eman le'amo u'letorato. Every Jewish heart that's loyal to its people and to its Torah. Le'nachlas kodsho u'le'otzar nevuasan. To its portion of holiness and to its treasure of prophecy, meaning that you're loyal to the prophecies that have been leading us all these years. Every Jewish heart like this, second line, who ed re'iyah is giving testimony. They are a witness. Al miflaot tamim de'im, they're witnessing the wonders of God. Goel Yisrael Kudosho. You can't deny what you see. This is all miraculous. Aval, what's the problem? Ha'otot hagdolim halalu, these tremendously huge miraculous signs, halchu nitashteshu mitoch tigrat yad shel hashimush ha'ma'asi hamit'ameret bahem. So he's saying over here something very important. These signs that are very clear at times can also become very unclear. What happens? When there's a tishtush. Tishtush means like when they put you out for a procedure. So there's what's called hardama klalit. That means you're out. Tishtush means you're temporarily out. Metushtash. Let's see, just a second. Let me just get the exact word for that in English. Blurry. Thank you, Google. Blurry. Things start looking blurry when we see that, wait a second, this is not happening the way that it's been happening until now. We were experiencing clear miracles, and now it seems that something's happening. We're getting blurry. Otoy is Soda Kadosh, third line. This same principle of holiness, Shua Nosei Ikari, Shel Kol HaChazon HaGadol Hazeh, which is the main concept of this whole tremendously large vision. Yesh bo mishum nitzotz tamir shel oro shel Mashiach. What we're going through now, he says, there's a hidden spark here of the light of Mashiach. And according to the Midrash, hagoel shenigla v'nichsa v'chozer v'nigla. Okay, so this is important, very important. According to the Midrash in Bamidbar Rabbah, it says that the Redeemer, or the time of redemption, will be revealed, nigla, nichsa, then it becomes concealed again, and then it says, v'chozer v'nigla. Then it says it'll come back again and reveal itself. So again, process of redemption is, I'm here, then it's You can't see me. And then it's, I'm back. I want us to be a little bit sensitive right now to Lubavitchers for a second, because many Lubavitchers know this midrash, and this is why it becomes confusing. This, and based on a Radak or a Rashi and Sefer Daniel, where you have this concept of the Geula and the Goel will come and reveal himself, then conceal himself, then reveal himself. Rav Kook is speaking about the concept of Geula over here. So that's why he's saying, don't freak out. They already told us in Midrash Rabbah that after a complete revelation, there's going to be a concealment again. Because that's what the people were feeling after 1929. And that's what you and I are feeling in 2020. So right after the Midrash Rabbah, בשביל כך הרינו רואים במשך המהלך של תחיית האומה והרחבת היישוב בארץ ישראל הרבה חליפות. It is for this reason that we see during this process of the rebuilding, of the rebirthing of our nation, and the widening of the Jewish settlement in Eretz Yisrael, we see so many aliyot v'yeridot v'aliyot, ups, downs, and then ups, non-stop. It's like Rav Kook is saying, don't think that this whole thing was supposed to be all good. He's saying up, down, and up. כל ירידה במהלך המפעל, הרי היא בחינת התכסות של הגואל, וכל עלייה הבאה אחריה, הרי היא בחינת התגלותו. Every time you're going down, every time there's a descent in the national morale due to Jewish blood being spilled, yes, let's not confuse ourselves. It is true, there's an actual concealment happening. But after that, when you see the nitzchius, the eternity of Am Yisrael, and Jews are coming home, and we're rebuilding, that is a hitgalut, that's removing the concealment. Next paragraph. Anyone that's followed clearly how things have been happening in regards to settlement from the beginning of its movement until now, Rav Kook is basically speaking about a span of, I would say, 20 years, 25 years, till that time in 1930. If you're really looking at the process of us coming back to Eretz Yisrael, you could mamish see how from every single descent which we suffered from, a tremendous sprouting forth, a tremendous growth has come, and an even greater development has come from it. Somehow, a step towards something bigger has been the result of every type of crisis that we've been through. In the process of us coming back to Eretz Yisrael, there are many examples for this. Next paragraph. And from this we must learn and take a good teaching from. Don't get depressed. גם מחרדתה של הנפילה הנוראה, אשר נפל יישובנו כעת, על ידי הרשעים הרוצחים הטמאים, אשר הרגו בזדון חסידי עליון, גדולי התורה והיראה. Rav Kook is saying, do not become low in spirit, even from this awesomely scary situation where such low murderers killed such holy people. ואשר יחריבו נאות יעקב אשר נבנו במסירות נפש ועמל משך דורות, and that they've demolished Neot Yaakov, they've demolished the dwellings of Jacob, meaning institutions, Jewish community that has been working on itself for years. But it wasn't just Chevron, Rav Kook says, and through this disgusting act of destruction, it really shook up. See, Chevron, this is an important line. He says, it shook up the whole foundation of our existence of our yeshuv in Eretz Yisrael. This pogrom, yes, it was 67 Jews in Chevron and other places as well, but for that time, that ratio of people, And that kind of imprint that it had on the ruach of the Am started inserting darts of Amalek into the basis of like people that felt like something big is happening, something real is happening, a crucial part of the redemption is happening. But this really, it really put into question people's conviction of that they're part of a messianic process. And Rav Kook was aware of it, and that's why he addresses it like this. הכיסוי הזה, אשר התכסה הגואל, יש בו צדדים שהוא עולה במחשכיו על כל הירידות אשר סבלנו, מאז התחיל ישובנו להיבנות. Rav Kook says the current state of concealment on part of the Goel, of the Redeemer, meaning the level where we're at now and the concealment that we were sensing then as a people. He says, there are sides to this that are darker than anything that we've suffered from as a people that have come back to Eretz Yisrael after 2,000 years. Rav Kook is like acknowledging people's pain. Rav Kook is saying, yeah, this is really, really, really dark. You know, this reminds me of the Piasetzner's words in Eish Kodesh. There are a few places where the Piasetzner Rebbe also kind of makes it clear that people understand what he feels. And he says, and then there's a footnote where he erased something and then added that basically these are the worst tzarot that humanity and Am Yisrael has suffered from since Churban Bayit Sheni. Then he says this is worse than Churban Bayit Sheni. When a leader is able to do that, what does it do to the people? It makes them feel, I don't think it makes them feel more scared. I think it actually makes them feel like, oh, okay, so at least the person that's, so to speak, our leader knows where I'm at. I can find a little bit of consolation just by that mere fact of that I know that my leader understands the gravity of the issue and they're aware of it. And they don't need me to give me a pep talk of go make a dance of Ibdud Hashem B'Simcha. No. 67 Jews were just butchered and tons of them were injured. Now it's not, and there's no more Yeshuva Yehudi in Chevron for now. And the blood of Yidden was for 6 months. For 6 months, blood of the Yidden were on walls and on the pavement and on the axes which killed them. People were wondering. And Rav Kook says, yeah. This is a time of kisui. I'm not going to tell you right now, go and jump around Gamzu Letova. This is concealment time. Aval, Rav Kook says. Third from bottom paragraph. Barura davar. Just, it's very clear, Rav Kook says. Shelefi ha'erech shel ha'kisui hazeh. To the extent of this concealment, of this covering, gadol yeh ha'or asher yigaleh. The light that is going to be revealed is going to be as great as the extent of the darkness that exists right now. Hamunach tachat aremat ha'choshech hagadol hazeh. Rav Kook says there's a pile of darkness here. It's true. But you know what's lying beneath this pile of darkness? This massive array of light which is waiting to just come out and reveal itself. Hold on to that, Rav Kook says, even if you can't see it. Betuchim anu, we are certain. Shemimakatenu hagdola azot titzmach refuah לאותה מחלה הנוראה של שכחת שם השם, הסחת הדת. Kook says we're certain that what will sprout forth from this horrible makkah, this patch we got, will be a healing for that horrible sickness which is called forgetting God's name. הסחת הדת, שבאה בחלק מהשדרות העסוקים בבניין, Rav Kook is giving a little bit of interesting nusser here. He says, we need a refuah. We need a refuah? The builders of the people, the builders of the land, the builders of the yeshuv, we're very busy building. And it's important, but what did we forget while we're building? This is about Hashem. And it's not just a nice and important national project of nationality. Kook is saying he's hoping that'll be part of the rejuvenation of the people, will be a refuah in that place. It's interesting how he inserts here at the end over here, like he's saying, listen, I don't know exactly why this happened, but Chazal tell us, when Tzeres Klapanyu, Do a pish push b'maasim. Go and look into your actions a little bit and see where you've been off. This is like Rav Kook is touching upon it over here at the end. And then he ends off here, Mishmuel Bet, Chisku v'nitchaska be'ad ameinu. Get strong and we will strengthen ourselves for the sake of our people, ube'ad arei Elokeinu, and for the sake of our God's cities, our God's home, meaning Eretz Yisrael. Shuvu levitzaron, return to the fortress, return to your stronghold. Asirei tikva. It's an amazing, amazing statement from Zechariah. So Rav Kook was able to instill within the people tremendous, tremendous hope. He wasn't scared at all, but Chevron really, really got him. As we see over here, Rav Kook says that since Bayit Sheni, there's never been such a churban in the people. And we went through crusaders, we went through heavy stuff over the years. But Rav Kook is looking at what happened over here, and he's saying, if I don't address the fact that Mashiach comes, he reveals himself, then he conceals himself, then he reveals himself again, I may lose everybody. I may lose everybody. Ma nishtana hashiur hazeh mitafshin pei. Is anything different today? It's like nigla, nichsa, nigla, reveals himself, conceals himself, then reveals himself again, is like, happens like 30 times a day. It's unbelievable. But right now, there's been one long kisui. There's like been one long extent of concealment. It happened first in the form of a virus. Now it's happening in the form of hatred and destruction. And we need to hold on to Rav Kook's words for dear life right now. The amount of light that's waiting to emerge beneath the darkness that exists right now should excite us. And it should give us all the koach that we need to work on ourselves stronger than ever, specifically because our Jewish brothers and sisters are on their way home now. Gamarno. They're on their way home, mamash. So in the schus of Rav Kook, the light of this country, of its people, should shine brighter than ever. And like, you know, those guys that direct planes and in the air, you know, in the air, like on the runway, you know, those guys that have those, I don't know what you call them, but the guys that have those like orange, shiny, bright sticks that like are guiding the plane where to go. All of us have to, I don't know what if you know what their names are, you could text, put in the text, but all of it in the chat, but all of us right now are mamish, like it's on us to hold up those things, those shiny, bright orange sticks, and be like to everyone in the world, here, 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 here. But really those sticks are like over here. They're saying, come, this is the way, this is the runway. Our hearts are the runway. We're preparing, we've prepared this place for so long since we're here for all of you, but really you've been preparing yourselves wherever you are so that we could also feel at home in our home. Hashem Yisbarach should have compassion on us, and the final revelation should happen immediately, Be'ezrat Hashem. No more concealment. No more concealment, just revelation out of Rachamim, Geula Berachamim. And may all of Am Yisrael and the rest of the world remember Ki B'Tselem Elokim Barat Adam, that all man in the world was created B'Tselem Elokim, and not get confused. Not get confused by anything. This is the headquarters of Tselem Elokim. And we're on our way to eternal world of light. Okay, hopefully we'll see you guys later tonight at the Parsha Shir. Have a wonderful day, everybody.